Good afternoon. My name is Omri Remez. I can't see you guys right now, but I know you guys are all looking beautiful. Wherever you may be, I hope you're comfortable. I'm a 17-year-old senior at Homestead High School, and I think I found the way to be the most efficient and most likely to make your impact from scratch. Now, there's 4 principles that I'm going to be covering today, in which I find critical for me to follow in order to achieve whatever goal I want to pursue. And I hope that you could take something from my talk into your own life. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let me show you how these principles look like in action. So, okay. From the very first time you pick up your guitar, you're going to learn 1 note. From 1 note, transition to 2, then 3, 4, and 5. Once you have those 5 notes, you can start a melody. Change it up. Again. Awesome. So we have our melody, and with this thing, we can create something pretty cool. Thank you. Now, I didn't come here to talk about my guitar, but rather how this guitar brings into my principles. So, let's go over them. There's 4 principles that I think are absolutely important and critical to follow. Number 1, focus on target. Focus on target is the idea of having a goal from the very beginning of your journey. And most importantly, one that you could clearly and figuratively imagine you achieving. So take this for instance, every single time I start a journey, I sit down on my bed, I close my eyes, looks like I'm totally daydreaming, but I fantasize about how it's going to be like to achieve this impact or goal. Whether that's scoring the final buzzer beater, or it's getting down on the wave, or it's getting into my college apps. I mean, just imagine how many times I thought and prospered about this guitar performance. I saw the finish line, I saw what I needed to focus on, focused on it, and achieved it. That brings me to my second principle, attitude. Attitude happens to be the principle that embodies the idea from the very beginning of your journey. In the beginning of your first note, you have to believe and tell yourself, I can do it. Now, you cannot win the race if you don't believe that you can win it in the first place. Because if you don't believe that you can win it in the first place, you simply won't have the motivation to start practicing over and over again. Now, attitude ties incredibly closely to our success, way before skill is even involved. What makes great coders great, or genius guitarists genius, isn't just their skill level, but it's how they apply those skills and their approach to it in the first place. You have to succeed and believe that you're going to succeed only if you believe that you're going to succeed. Because if you don't, you probably won't. It's that simple. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be the greatest guitar player of all time just by thinking about it. No, you have to work for it. But what I am saying is that one critical moment and critical aspect of your journey is attitude. Here's an amazing clip that I think showcases my idea perfectly.
All in. Always be all in. That's what Coach Sweeney said. Yes, sir. And the only disability in the life is a bad attitude. Yes.
The only disability in life is a bad attitude. A simple yet such a powerful statement. Which leads me to my next point, principle number 3, small steps. I could have just came out here, not said anything, pick up the guitar, and play a song for you guys. But that wasn't my impact. My impact was to get our brains to develop the idea of building blocks and how I led one note to multiple notes to a chord progression to the looper and only then to the song. Take a building, for instance. How awesome would it be if we could put a 100-foot skyscraper in the middle of Manhattan? We can't. I wish, but we can't. It takes 5 years, on average, 5 years to build one of those monsters. And one of the fastest buildings we've ever built was still built in 13 months. The Empire State Building. Now just imagine what it would be like if a block wasn't placed in the place it was supposed to be. Or if the architect imagined of skipping a small step. I mean, it wouldn't have been the building we know and love today. It probably would have collapsed. But let's recap. So, I came on stage. I knew my focus, knew what I wanted to perform. Awesome. Great. Principle number 1. Attitude. Told myself I can do it, got over the fear factor, and believed that I can do it. Great. Principle number 2. Number 3. Got from chord to notes to chord progression, looper, song. Awesome. Principle number 3. But something is missing. None of this can be possible without persistence. Persistence is the glue to every principle above. And is, in my opinion, is the reason why most people don't succeed in making their impact the way they do. So, before we start, there's a difference between persistence and consistency. Persistency is not only being able to come to the gym every single day, but it's the act of coming harder and harder to higher difficulty and not settling for the good. But that's only half of it. It's not only not settling for the good. It's the inability and to stop and the ability to prosper through boring and mediocrity. I wish, we all wish, that it would be as easy as a linear line. If it was, everybody would do it. Now, we all know this. We all know that there's failure, dedication, sacrifice, hard work, time, but it's slept on. We don't understand how hard it is to actually reach our success. Okay, let's take a different approach from this guitar performance. Early last year, the COVID pandemic hit our lives, but I found it a perfect opportunity to make my impact with this new normal. That's where I founded Eye for Eye with a partner, a nonprofit organization established to teach skills in this newfound abundance of time. But let me show you how my principles come into effect. Number 1, focus. Me and my partner saw our end goal of an opportunity to help our community in need. So, through a free learning environment, we decided to give the people that had time on their hands something to do. The application Zoom, we brought several different teachers to teach new passions in order to create new loves, from guitar to art to geometry. Great. Number 2, attitude. We made sure that every single one of our 9 teachers understood that if students weren't coming to classes, or if the business wasn't going well, or if something went wrong, you would come harder and stronger and understand that you're never going to lose that positive mentality. That is honestly where I found out that the greatest part of the process are to work with. Number 3, small steps. So we saw all the small steps on the floor. They were all scattered. While our website took hours to build, days to build, to perfect. Our small recruiting system took slowly to understand who we wanted to be on our team. We reached out to several different developers before reaching the one that would guide us to make our project a venture. But when we got all the small components on the floor and build them up, that's when we saw Eye for Eye come to life. But through it all, we stayed persistent, true to the process, and never gave up on our venture. And that's when Eye for Eye became from scratch to impact. By August 2020, Eye for Eye had 238 users using my site. So, through the guitar performance and through my COVID project, I've shown how the 4 principles are critical for me to follow in order to pursue my impact. And I hope that with my 4 principles, you guys can pursue your next impact. Thank you very much.